Okay, so last episode we talked about what is Linux in general, but now people are wondering, okay, so great, no, but you talked about app support, and I have no idea how I'm going to install apps, because when I double click on exe it doesn't work, and that's your first problem, mate. If you double click on exe on Mac, it's not going to do nothing, and you gotta learn how to install an application on Linux. First, you can install via files using what's known as a package file, like, for example, we have .deb, but there are many issues with it, and it's better to install from a repository or a repo, as some people call it. Like your system package manager, like if you your system package manager and our package system like Flatpak. And now you might be asking, what is a package manager? So, package manager is a place where you can manage packages. A package is sort of similar to like an MSI file, right? It isn't a full-fledged installer that does all the work. It's just something that tells the package manager, hey, this is the files, and this is where to put everything. And the installer, the Windows installer will do everything. Even then, the packages on Linux do even less stuff. They're more like glorified zip files, and everything is usually done by the package manager. The package manager can also pull from repositories, repos, kind of like warehouses where you can get packages from directly. You can use this from the terminal, but it's better for beginners and more or less general users to use graphical stores. If you've ever used anything like the Play Store or the App Store, you probably know about this. Unlike we have options like KDE Discover, Linux Mint, Linux Mint's software manager. Many options for that, usually connected to your desktop environment, which is a story for another day, even though that's going to be talked about sooner than later. System repos are sometimes slow to get updates and get new apps, so there are a few options for some developers and people who are on the cutting edge or just want to get things a bit easier. Even though this is not easy at all, you kind of know what I mean. We have alternative repositories. These are basically, you set that instead of just having your system repository, you also get from another warehouse or repository, and that way you can get, and because of I think how repos work, if you try to install your app, it will go through that one, and if it's not there, it'll go through your system repo. PPAs on Ubuntu-based distros and Ubuntu itself. You have PPAs, they're more official, they're a bit odd, but they're still there, and it's usually generally that option instead of alternative repos. And then we have package files, which we talked about in the beginning. Package files allow you to install directly, but depending on how things go, you might prefer going that, especially with updates. We have other package systems. There are three big ones: Snap from Ubuntu, Flatpak, and Appimages. The slow one, also known as Snap, it is great for servers. It's sandboxed. It's slower than the others, and there is a smaller selection of applications. Now, many people might be wondering why you might use this. Again, it's great for servers. But on the desktop, there are really many reasons why to, but some apps do require it. Again, on Ubuntu, you kind of have no choice other than to go into the command line or terminal and go mess around with things. So yeah, the popular one, we got Flatpak. There's many popular apps. It's default on many distributions. With alternative repository support, which means you can use Flatpak, but not just the Flat Hub, as its repo is called, and it's also sandbox, just like Snap. Sandbox basically meaning that no app can ruin anything because it's sort of in its own little container, right? It can't spoil anything else. The cons are permission hell, coming from the fact that it's sandboxed. Permission hell basically means that a lot of stuff are issues. Sometimes it can cause many problems. You can't get one thing, drag and drop support. Oh, the madness. There is some fixes. There are applications like Flat Seal that help you fix these stuff. But overall, it is basically the only option for many people, despite the fact that for some people they might want to prefer to use Snap for some reason. Or, next one, the odd one out, Appimage. It is portable, click and run, basically. It's simple, like Windows EXEs. Windows EXEs, again, are click and run, and they're the app in one piece, right? There are a lot of Windows EXEs are set up, but this is just the app in one piece, right? The cons are updating, removal problems, and other admin issues because again, it's portable and it's simple like Windows EXEs. So you're going to have to run around, try to get things done unless you have a manager like the App Image Store, and then by that point, why don't you use Snap or Flatpak? Overall, I personally prefer Snaps, but I think that, in my opinion, um, the best one so far is basically your system repository because it's the most secure and the easiest. But if you can't get something from your system repository, maybe it's best to use Flatpak or Appimage. Heck, maybe even Snap if that's where it is. Overall, that is it for what I have to tell you today. This episode is getting a bit long, and I don't really long. I don't know what I'm talking about now. Goodbye.